Your morning news now. Votes are still being counted in Georgia's 2 Senate runoff elections that will determine the balance of power in Washington. Democrat Raphael Warnock is projected to win one of those races, beating incumbent Kelly Loeffler. The other race between Republican David Perdue and Democrat Jon Ossoff is still too close to call. Thousands of President Donald Trump supporters are flooding the streets of D.C. as Congress prepares to count the electoral votes today. The process typically takes half an hour, but more than a dozen Republican senators and roughly 100 House Republicans plan to contest the results, meaning it could take all day. They are supporting the president's unfounded claims of widespread voter fraud. It is highly unlikely the opposition will have any impact on the count.
Well, watch out for some fog in spots this morning, especially east of the Mississippi River. That's where the fog is thickest this morning, and visibility down below a mile in spots. Dense fog advisory in effect for much of the area through 9 o'clock this morning.
Protesters hit the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin after officials decided not to charge any of the officers involved in the deadly shooting of Jacob Blake. The prosecutor says Officer Rustin Shesky, who shot Blake 7 times, acted in self-defense. Governor Tony Evers did mobilize the National Guard in anticipation of unrest, but so far protests have remained peaceful. The U.S. Justice Department says a civil rights investigation into Jacob Blake's shooting is ongoing. The Illinois teen charged with killing 2 people during the Kenosha protest pleads not guilty to all charges against him. Kyle Rittenhouse appeared in court virtually yesterday afternoon. He is accused of shooting and killing 2 men and wounding a third. Rittenhouse's attorney says his client acted in self-defense. Police say they have identified the man accused of punching a lacrosse bartender in late December. According to investigators, 65-year-old Joey Burnham of Rochester went behind the bodega bar and struck the bartender several times after being asked to put on a face mask. Burnham has not been charged and has yet to meet with investigators. According to Johns Hopkins University, 3,775 people died from COVID-19 yesterday. That's over 24 more than the previous high, which was set less than a week ago. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, less than 30% of distributed COVID vaccines have been administered. Wisconsin lawmakers are kicking off the start of a new legislative session by introducing a COVID-19 relief bill. The legislation would give the Joint Finance Committee power to pull money to help with the pandemic, limits local health departments to 14-day business closures, and school districts would be required to vote every 14 days if they choose to go virtual. Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos says the measure will pass later this week. Area nursing homes are receiving their first doses of the COVID vaccine. The Onalaska Care Center is getting its first shipment today, one day after Hillview Healthcare Center staff and residents got theirs. Benedictine Manor will have to wait until this Friday to receive its first round of vaccinations. And staff at Mayo Clinic Health System in Prairie du Chien were able to receive their vaccines yesterday. One nurse says those living in rural America often feel forgotten and hopes this will bring some optimism to the community. Thanks to various partnerships, and funding from a COVID-19 grant, Wafer Food Pantry in La Crosse will continue its curbside registration and food box pickup throughout the winter. A small enclosed structure for volunteers was built, along with a conveyor belt that makes it easy to load food directly into vehicles. For more information and to see food distribution times, you can visit waferlacrosse.org/COVID-19.
Well, again, we're starting with some low clouds and fog scattered about the region. Dense fog advisory in place for most of the area through 9 o'clock this morning. Now, storm system out to our west. Most of that rain and snow will be pulled to our south as the low itself tracks by well to our south. So other than maybe a few flurries over southeastern Minnesota, northeastern Iowa, I think the bulk of our area will remain dry today. Temperatures 17 in Viroqua, 19 in Eau Claire and Sparta, 22 degrees here in La Crosse. We'll see highs today around 32 with that fog fog to start, otherwise partly to mostly cloudy today with that flurry chance to our west. Unfortunately, we're entering another mostly cloudy stretch. In fact, that's going to be the trend right through the weekend. Maybe some flurries Saturday night, Sunday morning, some additional light snow chances heading into next week, with the best chance looking to be later in the week, centered around Thursday.
We want to thank you for sharing your morning with us. We hope you have a great Wednesday. We'll look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow morning.